Welcome back to Film My Watch List. My name is Richard Keeney. Today I'll be doing a spoiler-filled review of The Shape of Water, so if you don't want the film spoiled for you, I'd suggest going and watching it first, then coming back to share your thoughts. The Shape of Water is the latest film by celebrated Mexican auteur Guillermo Del Toro. The film tells the story of Elisa, played by Sally Hawkins, a mute woman who lives above a cinema with her kindly artist neighbour, Giles, played by Richard Jenkins. Elisa works nights as a cleaner for a top-secret government facility, and upon working there with her friend Zelda, played by Octavia Spencer, comes into contact with a mysterious company asset who she develops a close bond with. The security, spearheaded by a stern Strickland, played by Michael Shannon, view the asset as a dangerous monster, where Elisa sees a kindred spirit. The Shape of Water is a stunning return to form for Del Toro. It sees the director returning to where he left off with Pan's Labyrinth or El Laberinto del Fauno, that being, making dark, twisted adult fantasy with real heart. The film is exquisitely rendered. It's the absolute definition of effective visual storytelling. Del Toro has crafted this romantic allegory with utmost care. Not a beat is wasted in selling thematic devices or overall tone. In this fashion, the art direction and cinematography are incredibly utilised. The theme of water is so evocatively conjured up, whether it is physically present or not. This is largely due to the beautiful colour palette saturated in greens and aquamarines that are both attractive to look at while selling an at times suffocating, almost submerged atmosphere for the voiceless protagonist. Indeed, water and its connotative objects are constantly physically alluded to, be they the morning baths taken by Elisa, the way she prepares her egg lunches, the mop so integral to her work, Strickland's unusual hand-washing habits, or even the violent fish-hooking he inflicts upon a character at the film's climax. All of these of course contribute to the parallel between Elisa and the subject of her desires, the amphibian man or asset, played by Doug Jones, the frequent Del Toro collaborator responsible for the faun and pale man in Pan's Labyrinth, as well as Abe Sapien in Hellboy. Now, the narrative could certainly be described as a modern retelling of the Beauty and the Beast tale, but I feel that dismissing it on this basis would be unfairly reductive to the masterful filmmaking on display by Del Toro and his crew. As aforementioned, the detail on display is truly awe-inspiring, and not just on the visual side of things. The script, written by Del Toro and Vanessa Taylor, takes great care in fleshing out and exploring their fascinating characters. The humanistic empathy afforded to the people who either could have become narrative-serving stereotypes, such as Jenkins's closeted homosexual and Michael Stuhlbarg's Russian spy, or typical two-dimensional antagonists in the form of Michael Shannon's Strickland, is what truly makes the film shine. Every character takes unexpected turns, revealing true depth and pathos to their performances. Octavia Spencer is perfect in her role as Elisa's supportive and often hilarious workmate Zelda, her warmth shining through as one of the few allies Elisa has in the facility. Zelda's no-nonsense nature conflicts fascinatingly with her initial fear of acting out and serves as a satisfying character arc. So too, Michael Stuhlbarg's Dimitri shows concern and care for living creatures such as the asset, which lends him an empathetic and satisfyingly unpredictable air. Michael Shannon Strickland is an uptight and violent individual who the narrative allows us to see as a man desperately in search of the American dream, from his teal Cadillac to the picture-perfect family scene at home reminiscent of Giles' earlier jelly advertisement. This careful cultivation on Strickland's part, though ultimately proving an unsuccessful facade to his figuratively and literally rotten presence, shows a man with hopes and a certain amount of vulnerability that Shannon plays with scene-stealing flair. The catalyst of all the film's conflict, the asset, is magically brought to life by an affecting and deeply committed performance by Doug Jones. However, Richard Jenkins is perhaps the most impressive component of an already extremely strong supporting cast. His whimsical yet vulnerable Giles is a hugely likeable character who manages to evoke humour and true heartwarming sincerity from scene to scene. His loneliness is an affecting character trait that is beautifully counteracted by his loyalty and friendship for Elisa. The connection between characters is evoked gorgeously and becomes a flame of hope in their otherwise difficult lives. All of which brings us to Sally Hawkins, who is the undeniable standout of the film. Her mute performance manages the seemingly impossible task of being able to speak volumes. From her playful demeanour in her interactions with her friends Giles and Zelda, and in her defiance towards the imposing Strickland, to the deeply affecting emotional overtures in her love for the asset, Hawkins is a captivating lead. Her performance perfectly sells the film's overwhelming charm and romance through her humane and charismatic approach, a highlight of her performance being when she desperately tries to recruit the help of Giles in saving the asset from the facility, a heartbreaking struggle to be heard without the command of voice. These disenfranchised, underdog characters sell Water's concurrent thematic pairing exquisitely, that being voicelessness. Much like the way that water is physically portrayed in the habitat of the asset and the preferences of Elisa's routines, voicelessness is clearly apparent in the presence of Elisa's mute protagonist. It is also evident in Giles' nervous inability to confront his true self, Zelda's silent tolerance of racist behaviour, her inattentive husband, and of course, in the non-verbal asset, whose otherwise strongly human appearance is counteracted by his incapabilities of defending himself with language. With the aforementioned aquatic imagery, Elisa's blissfully submerged dreams, and her preference to turn her hat into a seashell of sorts, creating sea noises while on her nightly commute on the bus, the romance between her and the asset is foreshadowed and complemented in evocatively visual ways. We are immediately sold on their connection through their overwhelmingly similar characteristics. As well as them both being voiceless, they are also frequently paralleled with the theme of breathlessness or suffocation. This inability to breathe easily can be seen clearly with the asset's need for salt water and his initial struggle at being a literal fish out of water. It also feeds into Elisa's suffocating inability to speak for herself and be heard, the raspy breaths replacing her damaged vocal cords. Tying nicely into the title of the film, water allows both characters to breathe easily, be it in the scene where Eliza floods her bathroom and joyously embraces the asset, or the ending where her disability becomes a new lease of life, her scars becoming the gills that allow her to breathe. Del Toro has worked wonders with The Shape of Water, making a beautifully profound allegory for the inhumane way we as a society often marginalise those who are different. Beyond his masterful direction and the visual sumptuousness he conjures in every frame is Dan Lauston's beautiful camera work that brings it to life. My favourite shot and moment being the water droplet dance initiated by Elisa touching the rain-streaked bus window, an absolutely stunning and artful metaphor for the entire narrative. Furthermore, the art direction by Nigel Churcher and production design by Paul D. Austerberry are simply superb. The film is also exquisitely edited by Sidney Wolinski, who maintains a beautiful rhythm to The Shape of Water as fluid as its namesake. Alexandre Desplat's score is heartwarmingly nostalgic and gorgeous, in which he creates instantly iconic themes with a nautical soundscape. Overall, I love The Shape of Water, and a second viewing only made it a stronger film in my eyes. Though the narrative is familiar, it is still utterly unique in its approach. The perfect visual storytelling, fantastic performances, and soundtrack create a wondrous cinematic experience that is heartwarming, dark, and utterly beautiful. I'm going to give The Shape of Water 4.5 stars out of 5. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, consider subscribing to the channel, and also have a look at some of our other content, including other reviews, podcasts, and movie lists. Thanks very much. Avant d'avoir